but I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you, so don't be afraid.
Lots of good contributions on the blog, I appreciate that. We dropped a little bit this past week in our reflections, like I think we're down to something like that. I haven't actually checked the number of students, because I was kind of a little crazy, not in the head, I hope not, but anyway, kind of a little crazy in terms of workload today, so I didn't really get a chance to look at to count the students, but I think it's somewhere like 16, 17. So we dropped a little bit. I guess that's okay, because obviously you only have to do 10 reflections, so it's not the end of the world if people are, they say, well, I'd rather do a different one or whatever, for whatever reason, and that's okay. But just sort of be alert to that you want to try to get into the habits, better to get them done early and so on, so you do have a little bit of slack time towards the end in case you need it. And the other thing that I kind of want to encourage, I've seen some people do it. I know Evan is one example that comes readily to mind. She's done it a couple of times, and some other people have done it as well. I can't recall that name, it's not coming to me, but is making comments on other people's reflections. Two things. One is I think it's kind of nice for people to read it when someone else, if you get something valuable from what someone else has written, I think it's a good idea. You can either put that in your reflection, or even better, I think, is to make a separate comment, because then the person looks and says, oh, somebody got something out of what I wrote. So it's a nice thing that makes people feel good. But the other thing is it increases your engagement. We've always been talking about it in a lot of these things we've been doing about student engagement, right? Is not this kind of engagement, right? I did that a few years ago. Yeah, I've been engaged, I'm married now, happily married. But different kind of engagement. Engagement of getting ourselves involved, right? We know about that, we've talked about that lots of times. And what happens when you sort of look at other people's ideas and put your own down, it sort of pegs you into keeping up to speed. Oh, this is interesting, and then maybe reading about the ideas. Another thing I liked, I noticed Ben mentioned. He said, I'm gonna go in and do a little bit of reading before this week. Ben made that comment. There's sort of, and that's kind of a good idea too. And it's a good idea to sort of share your thoughts, about what you're doing as you're doing. You don't have to. I don't want you to feel, oh my God, Dr. Andy said go on the blog. I got to go on 10 times a day because I'm not doing. No, I don't want to make it a stressful thing. I'm just saying let's use it to keep interacting on it. I think it's really valuable for us. And I've been getting some feedback in emails and stuff that people are finding that. So let's kind of keep up with that and maybe increase it if we can. The other thing I want to mention is we have a new student, kind of, okay? And that is Jeff. Jeff, you can stand up and say hello to everybody. It's good to see you, Jeff. Actually, Jeff was in the doctoral program, but to be honest with you, I told him about the caliber of the two programs and how good you guys were. And I said, these guys are pretty amazing, and they're maybe a little bit stronger group than the PhD, but I can't say that. I didn't say that. Yeah, okay, no, it's not sure. No, but anyway, so Jeff decided he had to come here because he heard so many good things about you guys. Actually, the second part of that is true. People have heard about good things about you guys because I've been bragging about you guys all the time, because you are a great group. But anyway, so Jeff's here with us. He did start the PhD program, but this program actually is better for his needs at this point in time. That's why he's here. So all rumors about one program is better than the other. It's not really. I was kidding around. All right. So we're gonna flip over. I just kind of want to touch base a little bit on a couple of things. Spiral curriculum. I think most of the people got the general idea of what was conveyed last week. Is pretty good. Okay. What was conveyed last week by Manpreet and Neat, I think we got a lot out of it. Very valuable contributions. Keep in mind, I just want to mention, I don't really want to try out one thing, just to give you an idea. I'm going to use sort of a little case study, okay? And I'll write this down. Don't worry, I'm going to give you, who's my presenters tonight? Yeah, I'm going to give you lots of time, okay, don't worry, okay? You'll definitely have all your 9 minutes, I won't cut you that much. I'm looking for chalk here, sorry. You don't have to know this, but I'm going to just put it on the board and just talk about this for a couple of minutes. Okay, Saxon math. And if you want to Google that later or whatever, wait for it. Yeah. It's a good idea. I don't know if there's a song that goes with this. Maybe we could have, Mike is going to do a little singing for us about this. But anyway, I'll just put that out there. You're not necessarily anything you have to know about for the program. But this is a program we used at a middle school I taught at in Texas a number of years back. And the way that Saxon math works, the reason I bring it up is because it's a perfect example of an actual application of all the ideas of Bruner and the ideas we discussed last week, and it was so well illustrated by Van Creek and Neat about spiral curriculum. And what they do in Saxon math is they start, here I walked away from the board, I probably need to stay up there for a bit, is that it's sort of an 80-20 breakdown. And you might say, what does that mean? Basically what they do is every time you do a new lesson, let's say it's 6th grade math, it doesn't really matter what it is, but let's say 6th grade math. Every time you do a new lesson, only 20% of the questions, when you get to your assignment part, 20% new questions. That's it. And you might say, well, what difference does that make? Here's what happens. Imagine you teach a new concept. Okay, let's say, okay, we'll take the 6th grade curriculum. Well, I'm going to do 7th because I'm doing 7th grade right now, so it's fresh in my head. Okay, 7th grade, at some point, you flip over from discussing operations and you start putting in variables. You start doing some algebra in 7th grade, right? Partway through. So let's say you've just done that. You've just put in variables, and I'll pick one, a student here that I know is pretty confident, won't feel too bad about this. So I'll say, Micah did get it. Okay, he understands what's been going on so far, but when we hit variables and we did the lesson, Micah just was like, I just don't get it. It's like, doesn't make sense. Why use X's and Y's? Why use numbers? What's up with that? And he's like, it's gone. Didn't go, right? Here's what happens. When he goes home that night and he gets his questions, let's say there's 10 questions. If there's 10 questions, how many of them is Micah going to be able to do without any problem at all? 8. See that? Okay? Because the new skill is only involved in 20% of the questions, which means that it's only 2 out of the 10. Does that make sense? So what happens is, if Micah totally doesn't get it, he won't get frustrated at home. It's built that way. So he doesn't get the skill, maybe, then the next day he goes in, he goes, teacher, I missed these 2 questions. As soon as the teacher sees what 2 questions he missed, what does the teacher know? Even though he doesn't know it, the teacher knows what? G.A., did you hear that? Hope not, because I want to see someone else can pick up on it. Good job. What does the teacher know right away if he misses those 2 questions? The teacher can see which 2 questions he missed. The questions that have X's and Y's in them. Right? So what's the teacher know right away? For sure. Teacher knows what? Go ahead.
He didn't understand.
Didn't understand that lesson, right? He didn't get the new lesson. He gets everything else, but he didn't get. So of course, what's the teacher going to do, Evan?
He's going to repeat it probably.
Right. And if there's just him, you pull him aside, right? What if it's 8 out of 20 students didn't get those 2 questions? Then what would you do, Martin? 8 out of 20 of the students didn't get those.
He repeats it.
You probably need to reteach it. Because the 12 that did could probably benefit from a little review. If it's that kind of proportion, if it's 3 or 4, they might pull aside into a small group, right? That makes sense? So this kind of curriculum, this is where I'm going back to what Creed and Mount Creek were talking about last week. This kind of curriculum actually helps the teacher. It helps the students too, and it's designed that way. Because the teacher looks at it and goes, I didn't do a very good job teaching that. Or not necessarily even have to insult himself like that. He can say, oh, well, let's just do it again. Let's do it a different way. Right? Maybe we do the models. Maybe they did it on the board, and so they go, okay, let's try doing what Creek did. Let's do this with make the X's and Y's be, I don't know, be legal. Right? Does that make sense? So, and that's what they did. Depending on the students. So this kind of curriculum, I just want to give an example, a quick case study. This kind of curriculum like that is very useful. And there's actually programs out there. But you know what? Here's the interesting thing. Because you guys might say, yeah, great, but my school's not going to spend money on Saxon math books because we're limited in our resources. Right? And that's probably true in a lot of schools. In fact, it is true in all schools. All schools have limits. Some have higher limits than others, but all have limits. Nobody is in a position where, okay, you can spend whatever you want. But can you take a curriculum that is not in a spiral design and spiral it for your students? Interesting question. Can you do it? Can you take this curriculum? I'm trying to apply what we went over last week. That's why I'm doing this, okay? You're going to get a little application each week. Can you, and you guys have been doing applications, by the way, on your comments, so I'm not saying you haven't been doing this, but I'm just trying to add to it a bit. Can you take a curriculum that is not spiraled and spiral it?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, great. How might you do that? What is a possible way of doing it? You can use any example you want. Want to stick with the math? Use the math. If you're saying, I don't know anything about math, I want to do social studies, okay. I just want to see if somebody can generate some ideas. How might you do it? Seriously.
Have the same questions again? That you had 8 out of 10 questions from the night before.
You could just repeat questions. You know, I mean, like one of my teachers in science, Mr. Bill, he does Moodles, okay? And actually, he kind of designs, he puts spiral in. The astronomy book that we're using right now is not spiral, but he repeats the same questions. Actually, that's a way of spiraling it. Now, that's at a fairly low level, because if you do that too much, you'll bore the kids. But he doesn't do it too much, right? But he does it, he builds it in. He'll give them a review, and then give them the test with some of the same questions on a review. That's a form of spiral. You can repeat questions, that works. Any other ideas? Even for simple ideas, it's fine. It doesn't have to be complicated, yeah.
So the idea of a theme. So if maybe the basic ideas repeated in different subjects, maybe presented different but the same ideas.
I think you're right. Thematic teaching can be a form of spiral because you keep going back over the same theme and you're using. A lot of these things integrate, as you'll notice, as we go through these different ideas. They come together and they sort of mesh and hopefully form a nice unit. But yeah, you can take the idea of themes and use a theme as a kind of a spiral. Go over the same material but different, or the same theme in different subjects. So the theme gets reinforced. Does that make sense? I mean, we do that. Let's look at global warming. A lot of us are tired of talking about it. But you know what? The kids starting to take it seriously. You know? Like, don't you actually have situations sometimes where you go to throw something away, or you go to, the kids will actually sometimes, that happens to me. Well, they say, nah, it never happens to me. And that's okay. It maybe isn't happening in all classrooms. But it does happen to me. I don't know, sister, what do you think? Some of the kids at RIS are getting kind of sensitized to it now, aren't they? Looking at recycling and, don't throw that bottle away, we can use it again. We see some of that, right? David, I'm sorry, you had a question or a comment?
I was going to maybe share an example.
Yeah.
For example, in science, we're working on Newton's laws of motion. And on the quiz, they're going to get one type of question on that to assess their understanding of that, and the test something else. But later, when we did a performance assessment, so they actually had to build a rocket, and they had to use what they learned in an earlier lesson to build that rocket, launch that rocket, and then reflect on how that rocket launch showed Newton's 3 laws of motion in action. So maybe through a performance assessment later on, you're actually spiraling back and reviewing those things, but in a more hands-on, different kind of way.
Yeah, that's a great example. And by the way, that's also an example of what? We got a group that's going to present on that later. Building a rocket. What is that? If you look at how they build a rocket and you assess that, can be. Thinking more of the assessment part of it. If you're saying, well, it shows the 3 laws of motion, what kind of assessment is it? Is it paper assessment? It's some kind of assessment, isn't it? Okay. All right. Any other comments? Any other questions? Ladies, or yourself, and then pass on to my pre-force. I thought it was good effort.